Hey, so it's the start of the third session here on this day, and this is the session in which I had my fastest lap there, 1 minute 2 seconds, just slightly over that. It was a fantastic session, very smooth, no interruptions, no red flags. It's in this session where I start to feel more sort of like attuned, and I'm starting to overtake people and starting to make more sort of like track racing decisions. But even then, back then, I really wasn't very savvy, and I wasn't at all at one with things like trail braking and things like that. So, despite the leans being really good, the lean angles, I would say overall I was hesitant and my lines were still not optimum. So a lot of riders that weren't necessarily going quicker were actually getting past me because of my lines. Similarly on this sort of Cooper Straight, I'm not really having the ideal line and throwing the bike, flicking the bike back up properly to sort of leverage, the power of the bike that I'm riding here, which is an S1000 XR. So I started to progressively get more of a feel of getting the lines, getting close, taking advice from Motorbrit 200 there. And on the Brabham Straights, that's when I started to hit faster speeds, and it wasn't on my quickest lap that I hit 120 miles an hour there, but it was certainly on one of the laps there. And I noticed that a lot of riders were slowing down here on this Paddock Hill bend, where I could have overtaken them, but I just didn't want to do that. I kind of felt a little bit uneasy. I did definitely enjoy the Druid's hairpin, leaning right over there. The exit wasn't perfect though from here. That's a lot of the issues. The lines were just a bit all over the place, not that smooth and great. You see these riders just darting off when I could have easily have taken at least one of them. And what I found is, like, when a rider's slowing down, I'm staying behind them rather than thinking about a plan to overtake them. A lot of it was because I just didn't want to push myself too hard as well, knowing that a slight mistake could be very costly and I've got to go home on the bike. That was part of the issue. But I did go past a lot of bikes there. So my fastest lap begins. I'm starting to take things a lot quicker now. I'm really giving it on all the corners. And really accelerating out of all the bends, trying to straighten up the bike. And you kind of know that you've had a good lap because you feel it. You feel like that was quick. It's a feeling you get because you're on the track for so long that you know when you're quick this time. I taped up my speedo, I taped up my mirrors all the way through this day, and that definitely helped. And there we go, 1 minute 2 seconds. I got there in the end, got that lap time. I mean, the average though for a novice is 60 seconds, so it's still sort of below average. But it was my first foray on this track, and it was sort of like, overall I was there for the experience mostly, and the friends I was with, Motorbrit 200, the other guys that came along, Mike, some of the others I can't really remember the names of because we don't meet that often. But it was good that we all got together, had this day, and we all had great fun. So my subsequent laps were not that good. Here's where I hesitated and held back there from that rider, who then just sped ahead in front instead of planning my lines properly and getting past this rider. So look, I could easily have got on the right hand side of this rider, got past that rider, but I just didn't feel at ease to do it. I'm not sure why, but I just didn't have that feeling to get to do it at that specific point. A lot of it would have been just because of poor lines. So even here I could have got past through the middle of both of these guys, but I just held back and just planned my first overtake here. You see the rider there on my right. get past several riders there on my left, going around the hairpin. So I'm feeling more in my zone now. And this session was the best session, so the third session in was the best session. I think after that I just let myself slip back again into not overtaking and not pushing a little bit more, and the lines, of course, not focusing. So you'd be surprised at how intensive it is and how much focus you actually need. It's quite a bit of focus, and it is quite intense. And this is where perhaps as well, around the sort of Paddock Hill bend is where I braked on the turn, but I think I released the brake a bit too early. I should have trailed it out. I wasn't aware of that technique fully. I learned that later from the Barton Advanced motorcycle training I did, and that was earlier in April this year, where I learned it a lot better than what I thought it was all about. There were a couple of very fast riders here in the novice group. So this is the novice group, by the way. You know, you kind of know they've been on tracks before, possibly this very same track, you know, because they were very, very good with their lines. They knew where everything was. So like, here's an opportunity where I could have got past a lot more riders, but I just held back. And there was somebody who was getting some training there as well from the MSV team. So you can see somebody getting a one-to-one train there. With a reflective, with a high vis. So getting this line and then setting yourself up for a good exit is really important. And then try and straighten this one out. Late apex. There's a couple of fast riders there. Just got through that crowd. The bike's got plenty of horsepower. I had all the horsepower there. More than I could use, in fact. It's just the will to push yourself and the will to overtake. And also there were moments when I wanted to overtake, but the rider in front moved into the line that I wanted to carry on with, and this is just me as a novice not knowing sort of what to do in that situation. That was another thing that was always playing in my mind. So I was always sort of braking at a certain point and not finding a way around them. So once again, that's going to come with a bit more coaching and a bit more experience as well on tracks. But I must say, there were a couple of riders who were getting the training with MSV, and when the initial sessions, they were really slow and very nervous. You could see that from the way they were carrying themselves. And it was only after the MSV coaching that they're really improved, and I was amazed. It's the same bike, same rider, and just a few sessions later on with the coaching, they really were riding significantly better, a massive improvement. So do consider that if you are on a track day with MSV. Definitely do consider, and you're new to it all, do consider their one-to-one coaching. It does require a lot of endurance, because if you consider it, if you're doing sort of a lap in almost, you could say, over a minute, some of these riders are doing it in a lot less. They're doing it in 50 seconds. You're squeezing in your 20-minute session, you're easily getting in at least, sort of 17 rounds, of the track. So it does really wear you out. It does tire you out more than you can imagine. It's easy to watch and it's easy to look at, but actually being there on the track with all the concentration, the focus you need, and I think there is an element of physical burn as well with the speed you're subjected to, and the forces, the G forces, and the braking forces. I think it does wear you out. I did enjoy this paddock hill bend, the right bend there, and it's generally also another track that I've used, Castle Combe, where I've liked. I'm not sure what the name of it is, but there is a right bend there which is brilliant, and even this coming out the hairpin on the right. It's not that I dislike lefts, but I really feel comfortable on the right, like turning in on the right. I'm not sure why, but it's just maybe a natural thing that I enjoy it. And I'm not sure if other riders actually have that or not, or whether they don't care whether it's a left or a right. It doesn't make any odds for them, but I do enjoy going around a right more than, I'm not saying like I don't like going through a left, but it's a different kind of an enjoyment for me going through the right. So I'm starting to overtake more riders as well, starting to get a feel for it. I mean, some of the riders obviously were pretty slow and everybody was clocking them anyway, but even some of the other riders that were a bit quicker, I did manage to get up to them and overtake them, but then obviously they overtook me because their lines were a lot better. But overall, the key thing is the experience of being on track. And this isn't like although it's a sports bike, it's an upright sports bike, the XR, so it's not the same kind of feeling, and it's not the same when you're sort of steering. It looks very robotic, and it looks like your arms are spread wide apart, etc. It's not like you're tucked in a jockey position on a sports bike with clip-ons, clip-on handlebars, and you're sort of at one with the bike and you're leaning off it and things like that. That's a lot more difficult, you could say, or on an upright bike, no matter which upright bike it is, when we're comparing like for like. But Brands Hatch Indy is definitely a circuit that I'd highly recommend to anyone who's keen on trying a track day, certainly with MSV. Safety record's brilliant, and you'll enjoy it. You don't have to like push hard and really like go crazy. Enjoy the day, enjoy the track, get used to it, and you'll get a really good feel. You'll start to really enjoy track riding. It's a totally different skill. It's completely different to road riding. Because if you're not leveraging the things that a lot of road riders don't do, for example trail braking, especially the advanced riders, they're definitely off the syllabus for all those guys, then you know you have other extra new skills to learn for track riding. And looking for the exit, the key thing is looking for your exit, straightening up, which you can put that to practice on the road, of course, and there are transferable skills, but you know, like a no speed limit track is not the same as a road in many ways, and the surface, of course, is a lot grippier, stickier. You'll only know once you've actually been on a track, and then you'll really understand what I mean. And here's another opportunity that was really missed. So I just let these guys go ahead, and I had a lot of opportunity all here. My lines were just absolutely rubbish here. That's Mike in front on the Repsol bike. Look, I held back, you know, it's sort of like I really held back, and I could have just straightened it up and just shot right through, straight through. Yeah, like that rider there, and the one behind it. Those two were very fast. Not necessarily speed fast, but fast getting around people. That's Mike there in front of me. I get past him, but that doesn't really count because this is it. This is the exit lap now, so I think he was just preparing himself to leave rather than looking at overtaking people. That's why everyone's slowing down now anyway. That's it. This session's ended and everyone's coming off the track. But I hope you enjoyed this video. This was my fastest lap on here. I had a great day overall, and I hope that you'll all have an experience on a track. Certainly Brands Hatch Indy is one of the most fun tracks that I've been on anyway. Thanks for watching. Take care.